friend.
We love entertainment value. Hello,
Hello.
and welcome to Ladies' Lunch. Internalized misogyny. Look out, people, we're talking about it.
It sucks.
By Megan, who is also a woman.
That's true. I can verify that.
Megan, what do you know about internalized misogyny? Have you heard
Here's the thing. I don't know. I haven't really studied internalized misogyny, but in one of my classes freshman year, we talked a lot about internalized racism. Any sort of internalized prejudice is something that doesn't really get talked about, but has a really big impact on the communities that are affected. And it's something that we need to do something about.
Okay, well, I thought we'd start with an important definition. Okay.
Yeah, that would be great.
According to Urban Dictionary, it is distancing and belittling women along with shaming them due to believing your gender is inferior. And the example quotes that Urban Dictionary has are, "I'm not like those girls," or "I'm one of the guys. Girls are too dramatic and prissy," or "Feminists make me so embarrassed to call myself a woman," and "those girls are slutty."
I'm not like other girls.
I'm not like other girls.
I like books.
I don't like other girls. I read books. And from one of the more official articles that I pasted, this sums it up accurately. I'm going to define it in a second, but so let's break it down.
All right, break it down.
Okay. So what is misogyny? Okay. Well, the term misogyny has actually been new for a minute. The earliest use is 150 BC by the Greeks. They used misogynia.
Oh, damn.
I learned that a lot of early philosophers were big sexists, and that's an underlying cause.
Oh, yeah, that kind of tracks.
Yeah. It's been established for 2,000 years. Those big thinkers being like, women bad. Aristotle says that the courage of a man lies in commanding, a woman's lies in obeying, that matter yearns for form as the female for the male and the ugly for the beautiful, that women have fewer teeth than men.
Teeth?
A female is an incomplete male, or as it were, a deformity.
Bitch, we have more ribs than you.
We have more boobs than you too.
That's a big win.
Which contributes only matter and not form to the generation of offspring. In general, a woman is perhaps an inferior being. That female characters in a tragedy will be inappropriate if they are too brave or too clever. So that makes me sad.
I feel like, I feel bad for him because I feel like his dick must have been so small. Like, it must have been so small if he had to say that and
he
put
went
in some official, can you imagine writing a college report on that?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the equivalent of a scholarly article. And you're like, you know what? Bitches be shopping.
I think he went to the bathhouse one day with his.
Oh, wait, am I allowed to curse on this?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. Wonderful.
One day with his little tiny dick, and there was a comment, and then he was like, "Fuck women, I'm an incel now."
Incel.
But this is that's a dialogue that we've heard a lot, even in like my psychology textbooks. Whenever they talk about, there's like a section on basic brain structures. They're always like, the difference between male and female brains. Well, actually, there aren't a lot of differences. Like, that's how it always starts.
Like, well, gender's kind of a construct.
I mean, yeah, gender is, and even like
gender behaviors.
Yeah, like biological, like that's the argument that men try to use. They try to be like, biologically, you're inferior because of your brain is smaller. And I was like, elephants have bigger brains than us, and they're not smarter. Except
I don't understand how biologically we're inferior when women give birth to human beings. Like, their vagina rips the fuck open, right? And then the next day we're like, all right, we gotta clean the house. You kick a man in the nuts, like, he is down for the count. Down for the count. We push a human, we push literal life out of our parts and we're fine. We just
Yeah.
sew that bitch back up and we go.
You just keep on balling.
No, men, you kick them, they're done balling.
Yeah.
Their balls are out of the court.
So misogyny is typically defined as the dislike of, contempt for, or ingrained prejudice against women. And so that's something that kind of philosophers started. But where does it come from? New wave feminists say the patriarchy, which is such a fun word. And I want to do a separate episode on the patriarchy. But others cite the Madonna whore complex. Another
Love Madonna, don't knock Madonna.
That's a rabbit hole. What is the Madonna whore complex?
Yeah, what is that?
And why does it matter? Unfortunately, it's a term coined by Freud, who isn't exactly a feminist,
Freud.
but it's relevant here.
Okay.
So basically, men have trouble seeing women as both a mother and a lover. They can only be one thing. They can be a virgin Saint Madonna or a slut.
Oh.
Kind of the basic concept.
Well, Freud's philosophies they're flawed in many ways.
But this one is something I saw. We were in my anthropology class, we were talking a lot about like Brazilian culture, and it's definitely a thing that they experience there. They have a really high rate of plastic surgery. In order to get jobs, you have to be attractive. So in order to get status, you have to be attractive. They just have a really big like equality over there. Whack shit be going on in Brazil. So a quote from him was, "Where such men love, they have no desire, and where they desire, they cannot love." So women feel they must choose. They're either like nice girls that you settle down with for a loving, sexless marriage, or they're like sexy, confident, promiscuous women who can love passionately and have like as many men as they want to. As time passes, obviously this isn't as prevalent as it was in like the 20th century.
Right.
But when you look at people, I don't know if you're familiar with the YouTuber Girl Defined. They're like these very, very conservative.
I've seen her on Cody Ko's That's Cringe channel, yes.
So there are girls that are like, you can either be a slut or you can be like a mom. Like those.
No, we don't support that. You can be a slut and a mom.
You can be a slutty mom, okay?
Yeah, I've seen it.
And I mean, for me, that's definitely a thing. I know, like, when I get into a relationship, like, it just happens. The passion kind of dies down, and it's not so much a thing. That's just a very natural thing, but
yeah,
there is just this ideology of, like...
relationships evolve. Like, people change in marriages. It's not going to stay the same forever. That'd be boring.
Yeah, and I think it's just kind of the idea of, like, there are party girls, and then there are, like, nice girls that you actually get into, like, a relationship with. You don't, like, look at a party girl and go, I'm gonna wipe her up. That's kind of the basic, that's the, like, ideology behind it. It doesn't mean I, like, ascribe to that idea at all, you know, but...
Gotcha.
That's just yep. So, how did misogyny get to where it is right now? Misogyny is a term skyrocketed in the mid-1970s, according to the New York Times. More or less entering the lexicon of second wave feminism with this book called Woman Hating. In the book, the author argues that a deep ingrained prejudice against women informs aspects of society from legislation to cohabitation. And she summed it up as women, we live in the midst of a society that regards us as contemptible. We are despised. We are the victims of continuous malevolent and sanctioned violence against us. And this is internalized misogyny. Is basically, that's the thing. That was a really intense thing. So here's the official fancy definition. Okay. Internalized sexism is defined as the involuntary belief by girls and women that the lies, stereotypes, and myths about girls and women that are delivered to everyone in a sexist society are true. And boys and men hear the sexist messages, the lies, and stereotypes about women over their entire lifetimes. They hear that women are stupid, weak, passive, manipulative, with no capacity for intellectual pursuits or leadership. So first, boys and men will grow to believe the messages and treat women accordingly, and they'll be indoctrinated into their role in sexism, like protecting their privilege and stuff. And the same messages are also sticking to girls and women, resulting in internalized sexism, where they're taught to act out the lies and stereotypes, and they doubt themselves or other women for not acting that way. So that's how women are interacting with sexism.
Interesting. No, I can kind of see that. I have to stop myself a lot from like judging random girls on the street just by the way they're acting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you just kind of like ignore guys.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to check myself. I try to judge everyone. I like to think of myself as an equal opportunist. Everyone
Yeah,
can be an asshole.
I know, because I was like thinking on the way over here, I was like, I don't want to like judge. I was like, I shouldn't judge myself for the amount of people I've been with because I don't judge other people for that. And I'm like, lies, I do judge other people for that. Like, I was definitely I was really bad in middle school. And, you know, like,
Well, that's middle school.
I just think that, like, even at that age, I'm like looking at girls,
Mm-hmm.
like, starting to be like sexually active. And I'm like, wow, like, they're so slutty. What are they doing? This girl made out with like 3 different guys during like a school dance. And I was like, wow, she's like such a slut.
I feel like it's a lot worse in like high school and middle school because you have such tight cliques.
Yeah.
And in college you're allowed to just be people more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
No, it was just hard because that's like just kind of, you haven't had a lot of world experience. So it's like the mindset that you've had,
Yeah.
it definitely is, you can see it.
Yeah. The mindset you just kind of are given, I guess.
Yeah.
Things like when you're growing up, things like have to have concrete definitions so that you understand what they are. And unfortunately, some of those concrete definitions are not great
Yeah.
that society gives us.
Yeah. No, so, and like I you know, I've changed and I like look at things very differently. But yeah, there's always that part of me that's always like, you know, this one girl told me, she was like, you should never sleep with more guys than like you can count on your fingers. So like 10, it should be your max. Like that was the arbitrary rule. That
Interesting.
I was like, well, I'm waiting till marriage, so it's gonna be fine. Um, and like, you know, when that didn't happen, now I go back to that 10-finger rule, and then I'm like, if I break it, then like I have to marry one of those 10 people. And I just think that that's a really stupid and very like,
It's like so hard to let go of.
yeah, I don't know, just so
Yeah.
looking at it that way is like, it's so sad. And then it just makes you put all this pressure on yourself and
Yeah.
bad about yourself. And it's like,
That's something that like I've been working on for a while. It's hard.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, labeling yourself as a slut is definitely
Yeah.
very easy for me. And, you know, I definitely don't label others that now. I'll definitely go, you know, when I meet people who have been like, yeah, I've slept with like 70 people, I just kind of go, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing. I'm
No,
just
I
like,
mean it's yeah.
that's a lot. Because for me, you know, for women at least, sex is a chance of pregnancy. Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I
you get a little higher stakes, you know.
so it's like, even if you're on birth control, things happen, you know,
Mm-hmm.
even if you're completely safe, things can go wrong. And women are the ones who are more likely to have to fully deal with those consequences.
Yeah. Well,
So,
it's your body is physically going to go through a lot of trauma, you know. And like
yeah,
the guy, though most will choose to help out and be in the picture and be affected, like their body isn't going to go through any changes. Their hormones aren't going to go through any changes like over the next 9 months.
yeah. And so it's like the stakes make it super different. I like totally lost my train of thought. There was one there.
You're saying how sex is a little different for girls than guys in our
Yeah.
society.
And that's why I think when I hear people go like, oh, I've had sex with like 70 people, like I'll hearing a woman say that, I'm like, that's a lot, because again, that's just a lot of chances. Statistically, I'm like, statistically, you're more likely to have to deal with these consequences. But it's like,
That's fair.
that's why I get a little freaked out. And then, you know, it's like sex is controversial. We all have different views
Mm-hmm.
how often it should be had, who you should have it with, like how long you should wait before you do all that
Yeah.
bananas and stuff. And so it is unfair to
Yeah.
look at other people and be like, well, your way of doing it is wrong. But for me, it's like, it's definitely a risk. Like, no matter what way you view it, it is. But it can be, it's a risk that you can take. We take risks every day. By driving in a car, we're taking risk. So it's fine.
Yeah, for me, I don't know. I don't really judge the person as much anymore. I try to judge more of like the experience, because like,
Yeah.
it's like sex is fun. It's something that even casual like can be fun, but I still think it's like, it's this very intimate thing, you know. And it's, even if it is something casual, like, I feel like you don't get the full experience if it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. So, yeah. But I don't know. So, yeah, the views are definitely different. And I think a lot of that has to do, again, with internalized misogyny and how women are supposed to be questioning themselves all the time.
Yeah.
That I think is very common in us, because getting opportunities is a bigger deal for us.
Hmm.
So it's harder to do. So you're always going, am I doing all these right things to get whatever it is I want to get?
Yeah.
So we know what internalized misogyny is. We know its history. So where do we see it manifest? In Susanna Weiss's Bustle article. We use great sources here.
Oh yeah.
So 7 sneaky ways internalized misogyny manifests in our everyday lives. She gave some really great examples that are fun to break it down, and I want to see how we do our things. Okay.
Nice.
So sometimes women value their feminine qualities more than their masculine ones, or strive toward feminine qualities at the expense of their overall well-being. For example, being small is considered feminine. We take pride in ourselves for being skinny because we're conforming to the ideal of women as unimposing and conventionally beautiful, not just because that's how our body is, and we're perpetuating a standard of beauty that harms us. And I know for me, I do that all the time because I come from a German background, so I got this jaw that can cut.
Oh my god, yeah, I got that notched nose.
Notch nose. I got like these big shoulders. My fame and my fame
Same.
and my face are something that I'm very self-conscious about. I always am like, I wish I was like a little bit shorter, and like I wish that I was like a little bit more like rounded Barbie like kind of figure.
I get that.
Definitely. So like if I'm ever, you know, I'll look in the mirror and I'll be like, I like look really skinny today because I just went to the bathroom. So all that stuff's gone. I'm like, wow, I look really skinny. But it's like, you shouldn't be like, I look really great because I'm skinny. It should just be like, I look great because this is my body and that's cool.
Yeah. No, totally. And yeah, something else that does not help with that is like a lot of girls do dance when they're younger. And when you do dance, like you grow up looking like you grow up in front of a mirror. So you spend every single class, every single day looking at the curve of your foot or the angle of your hands, and you learn to scrutinize every single little part of your body, not just in a dance sense, and you start to do that just with your body in general. And it creates this fun thing called body dysmorphia.
Yes.
Which a lot of us have to deal with. A lot of guys I know deal with it too. Yeah, I don't know. It's very weird. But you spend a lot of time scrutinizing yourself just in general because that's the way that society has set things up for you. And then you spend extra time.
I'm glad that you brought up dance as an example, because I did dance for like 6 years when I was a kid. I would have done it for 5 because I just wanted to get my 5-year trophy, but I was on vacation when they were handing out the trophies.
Nice.
So I did an extra year just to get it. It was really bullshit because I was like, can I get the trophy anyways? They're like, you have to be at the ceremony. And I was like, shit.
Well, that's rude.
Yes. Anyways. But like doing dance, yeah, you grow up in front of a mirror and you're also surrounded by beautiful, skinny girls all the time. And it's so hard not to be like, I need to look like what everyone else looks like. Because all these girls are like, yeah, I also do gymnastics and I do like soccer and like I do all these other sports and stuff. And so they are very fit. And they also
like taught to compare yourself to other people, and you're taught to want to emulate what they're doing or how they look, and to change how your position looks, and it kind of morphs into trying to change your body position to your body shape, which
which
is
is
hard.
not healthy.
Yeah.
And so, so physically, women are kind of taught to value certain physical qualities about being a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So, from the article, though we are encouraged to attain some feminine qualities like smallness, we're discouraged from other feminine qualities, like the propensity to cry. We're supposed to be sensitive, but not too sensitive. Otherwise, we're called irrational. So sometimes when we ask,
It's hysterical.
yeah, I hate the word hysterical. So when it doesn't mean funny.
Yeah.
Because then I'm like, it is hysterical because women are funny. But just the what is it, hysteria or whatever the word is for the uterus.
Yeah, I think it's hysteria.
Yeah. So sometimes, these like social characteristics that are like feminized are like not valued. So women will value the masculine qualities about their personality. So when we act masculine by resisting emotion, we feel that is superior to expressing ourselves. But that very idea is based in misogyny. If tears were associated with men, they'd probably be considered a sign of bravery. If you find yourself wanting to act masculine for reasons other than just being yourself, it's very understandable, but also have misogynistic roots. So I know from my own personal example, I'm always afraid of being perceived as a bitch when I'm in a position of authority. Like smallest amount of authority over a group, I apologize constantly, and I'm always like, let me know if I'm like overstepping. But it's like I'm just being assertive because I'm in a position where I'm supposed to.
Yeah, that's your job.
And I talk in a deeper voice when I'm with my dad, so he'll feel like he's with one of the bros.
Oh my god.
As I say it, but I've just noticed when I do hang out with him, I slip into this lower voice.
Interesting.
Because I want him to feel, he's not with like his emotional daughter or whatever.
Oh. See, I grew up, if I cried, like, in the middle of an argument, because, like, sometimes when you get mad, sorry, that's my bird.
I saw.
Sometimes, like, when you get mad, you cry because it's, like, it's a lot of emotion. But the second I would start crying is when I lost the argument. Because I would get yelled at for crying, because it's not going to solve anything.
It's so sad.
And it's just something that, like, a lot of guys don't know how to deal with because they were taught that you should never ever let anyone see you cry. So it makes them really uncomfortable, and they don't know how to deal with it in a healthy way because they're taught that you're a man, you be strong, you're angry, assertive, or neutral, or funny.
Yeah, I'm gonna be like very vague about this example, but I was talking to a guy, and I was very upset with him, and I was like, okay, I'm either gonna physically hurt you, or I'm gonna sit down and talk about my feelings. Which would you like? And he's like, physically hurt me, and I was like, wow, you refuse to listen to me talk about my feelings with you.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. He was like, I'd rather you punch me in the dick. And I was like, cool.
It's like it sucks.
Feelings anyway.
Like it sucks, especially like from a female point of view, but it's also not entirely like the guy's fault.
No, of course not.
Like that's how he learned to make friends and get ahead, is by being that way.
Yeah. That's the problem with something so institutionalized, that it's like it has to do with like how you were raised, which isn't, but then it's going to affect how you raise your kids. And so it's going to take like hundreds of years for like something like this that's been around for 2,000 years to just go away. And that's like what's the frustrating thing about feminism, is that it's like it's a total mind fuck for some people to hear, oh, but like when they hear, gender is a social construct, they're like, I can't process that in my I grew up with a Barbie, and you're telling me I'm a monster for having used said Barbie.
Yeah, well, people take it too far, like they read too far into it.
Did you see, this is totally unrelated.
Mhm.
Did you see, do you watch John Oliver?
Not regularly. I'll see it if someone like shares his
I
stuff.
no, he showed a clip from this news source called OAN, and
Okay.
really loves them. And there was this clip where there was like it was like a transgender penguin or something.
Okay.
And the woman was like,
do liberals want human children to be genderless? If so, why? Is this based on biology? And if not, then what? What happens when human children are raised genderless? If gender is destroyed, doesn't that destroy traditional gender roles? And if gender roles are destroyed, doesn't that destroy gendered relationships? And if gendered relationships are destroyed, doesn't that destroy traditional marriage? And if traditional marriage is destroyed, doesn't that destroy the family unit? And if people aren't dependent on their families, then who do they depend on? That's right, the government, which is the goal of liberals in the first place. Don't let transgender penguins fool you.
Oh my god.
and it's all like, I thought we were talking about trans penguin. I'm like so lost.
I mean, like, mad respect for that whole train of thought, but yeah, not respect for the content.
No, but no respect for, she reached.
She really did her own research, formed her own opinion.
So another thing I wanted to talk about, the next example, as the protagonist in Gone Girl describes,
Boy.
the cool girl is hot and understanding. Cool girls never get angry. They only smile in a chagrined, loving manner and let the men do whatever they want. Go ahead, shit on me. I don't mind. I'm the cool girl. The side is that the cool girl fits in with men. The downside is that she can lose herself in the process. If you found yourself trying to be one of the guys or ignoring what you wanted to make a man or anyone else happy, patriarchy might be at work, Megan.
Oh no. Oh no. I become one of the bros in like every situation I'm in.
When I was reading that article, I was like, Megan, no!
Here's the thing, like, I like being one of the guys because
Exactly.
I can like assert my power that way.
It's also just, you can't have male friendships unless you like mirror their personality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I get the thing is like even if you mirror their personality though, they'll still hit on you and try to have sex with you.
Yeah.
Like I have so many close guy friends and almost every single one of them has hit on me.
Yeah.
You know?
And it does kind of go back to that thing of like, I'd rather you punch me in the dick. It's like the fact that, you know, with some people, like with men in particular, you have to like change that stuff about yourself just to hang out with them, because I do enjoy hanging out with guys, but it's like I haven't had a close male friend like since early high school.
Really?
And like even though I only had those guy friends because they were friends with my boyfriend. Like once him and I broke up, like I lost all of them because it's like one of them literally referred to me as Morse's girl.
Oh.
You're Morse's girl, right? I was like, I am Rosie, and I
like, well, I have a name.
like, thank you very much. I'm a different person.
Ugh.
So, I really hate that. You know, those guys.
I kind of like being friends with guys because like they're
When we say guys in this case, I'm talking about like most hetero.
No, I hang out with like dude bros a lot.
Yeah.
The thing is like when you become one of the guys and you become like one of the tight-knit guys, you can slowly like start to help them exploring more complex emotions, which is like watching a baby discover the world for the first time.
No, it's so true.
It's like beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Like my most recent relationship, like, you know, we stopped talking for a while, and he was just, I just never really learned to like talk about this stuff until I met you, and like you're the only person I can talk to about this stuff. I'm like, you can talk about it with your guy friends too, and he's like, not the same, and they don't understand what I'm talking about. I'm like, it was but it's like you've never heard about talking about your feelings.
Yeah, because they can't. honestly like makes me sad.
Yeah, because it's so fun.
Yeah.
I want to do like for a career. I love talking about my feelings. Another example of internalized misogyny. She says, "I'm still learning not to slut shame myself and other women."
Yeah.
So, but I used to think I could reject the extreme of slut shaming, like telling a woman it's her fault she was raped, but I still, my friend's decision to sleep with a guy on the first date maybe reflected low standards. I didn't understand the roots of this belief until I caught myself having the thought, if you sexed with a stranger, that means you're desperate. Desperate and low standards are just coded phrases we use to describe women who are too sexual. It's considered normal for men to do all sorts of things, watch porn, request nude photos, have casual sex, and yes, with strangers, and we assume their motive is horniness, not self-disrespect. Yet we feel bad about these things.
That's a good-ass point.
That one really resonates with me.
Yeah.
Because again, it's that horniness idea. You go, oh, like that guy's just a horn dog. But you don't really say that about women.
Yeah. Like sometimes you do, but you never, like, in the conversation, it never comes up that the guy just doesn't have self-respect.
Yeah.
You know?
You always assume that guys are like very confident, usually because one's
even if you're like, yeah, the girl's super horny, but I wish she would have some self-respect. Like, that's not usually something you say about a guy, too.
Well, and I liked that she brought up the word desperate.
Yeah.
I was advising someone about Tinder. She was like, I don't want to message first because I don't want to come off as being desperate. And I was like, just because you message first, that doesn't mean that it depends what you're saying. If you if you message first and you go, hey, fuck me, like, okay, that's a little sad. Not sad, it's direct.
Yeah, have you ever noticed that, like, hold on.
Internalized misogyny right here live on this podcast.
Oh, yeah. You ever notice that desperate and confident can usually mean the same thing?
Yeah. No, that's so true. That's when you have to act to the most confident, when you really need something. So it's probably inside you're like freaking out.
Direct or desperate?
Yeah.
Depends on if they have a vagina, I guess.
Yeah. So I wrote down, I was like, why don't we, again, like, why don't we view men as being desperate? Like, why is it their job to initiate? Because that's true. Like on Tinder, I would get a lot of messages from guys first. My like bio at the time was very, I'm not going to say desperate, but it was very flirtatious and inviting. I knew I was inviting.
Enticing.
Because last summer I was horny. I wasn't desperate, and I was self-disrespecting because I was not in the place to be running around doing those things. I had to heal from my breakups.
No, in the industry, we call that growth.
So so the last example she gives in that article, when I see a woman being a stay-at-home mom, wearing a lot of makeup or doing other things women are often pressured into, I have to curb the impulse to assume they're trying to conform. Though it comes from the very real fact that women are often pressured to conform in these ways, this impulse still categorizes behaviors as masculine or feminine, rather than viewing them as individual choices dissociated. It also devalues femininity, and that hasn't gotten us anywhere. Instead of discouraging women from being feminine, we should view both femininity and masculinity as available to anyone.
Yeah.
So
I like that. She worded that like perfectly.
Yeah, because so that's the thing when I look at women like Girl Defined, I'm like, you're brainwashed by the patriarchy and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, if like caring for your husband, devoting your life to your husband is what makes you personally feel happy, it's not something that you're doing because it makes you think it's going to make you happy, that's something to fucking have.
If it's not something that you feel you should do, it's something you want to do.
Exactly.
That's the distinction, you know?
Yeah. Because I know I do that all the time. When you see girls get like married super young and then just not to go to college and to start raising a family, I kind of frown on that, and I'm kind of like, don't you want to like live a life for yourself and like go out and learn and explore and all this stuff? But it's like, you have to remember that there are people who genuinely don't want that stuff. They're content with having this life. It doesn't make it a life. You know, family is like a whole thing. You know, that's they're stay-at-home moms for a reason. Kids are kids. It's like
frowning on people who want to go to a trade school instead of a college.
exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
It's just that's the path that they want to follow for their life.
But this also brings up the example of the trend that you mentioned earlier, not like other girls. Trend. I want to do a whole separate episode about this, but we're just going to cram it on in here.
Oh, yeah.
So, for this one, Urban Dictionary says, girls who say they are not like other girls are, quote, probably the most basic girl ever. Basically, I think she's different because she eats pizza and games instead of partying, LOL.
Quirky.
He says things almost 50% of girls do and acts like she's weird. She also thinks if you have big tits and a big booty, you're automatically dumb. She's basically she's basic. And she's stereotypical. Another point is with their love, where do we begin? They're kind of like r/nice girls because they always go, OMG, why do you guys always pick sluts over smart girls that are actually good? But
there are guys like that too.
Yeah, so they're like nice guys, but they're nice girls.
Gotcha.
But at the end of the day, they're somehow the good guys because they don't send nudes. Apparently, if you don't play video games, isolate yourself, judge others for their interest, and you won't believe this, eat. You're so bad.
What?
Yeah, so this is a form of internalized misogyny where women believe that women who conform to female norms are inferior to those who deviate from those norms. But an important thing about the not like other girls trend, and something that pisses me off, is that this creates another category of women that people harass on top of other girls. So like the whole system just ends in women being beaten down. You know, like they're group of women, you know, the cool girl, not even the cool, like the hot girl or whatever. And then you have the other girls who are like, well, we're not like them. They're lame. Let's trash on them.
Yeah.
And the rest of the world, you know, like the popular girls and all the men and the people who are not like other girls.
Right.
All shit on the not like other girls. They all go, look at those girls. They think they're better than us, but they're the same and they're so lame. Let's all shit on them. And it's like, oh, we just don't shit on women.
Yeah. Well, I think that sort of thing happens with like any sort of positive trend too, is like you have that negative outlier too. Like the Me Too movement, it's something that has needed to happen for years, for decades. And people are finally being held accountable for these terrible actions. But there's also the flip side where like you can say something and make it up and this guy's life is ruined, even if he's not one of those terrible guys.
Yeah.
We need the movement, but there's also like that one negative outlier that happens from it.
Yeah.
You know?
Very real thing.
Like, how do we avoid that?
Basically, internalized misogyny, this is a quote from me, the article did not link this. Basically, internalized misogyny is a never-ending cycle that has existed for thousands of years and permeates all societies. Thanks, I hate it.
Yes, you're welcome. I hate it too.
Yeah. So, Megan, what can we do? How do we escape?
Can we do?
How do we do? Well, by smashing subscribe on the Ladies Lunch podcast. I'm kidding.
Smash that like button.
But also please, because yes. No, but so kind of by acknowledging these traps that we get into when we look at the cycle of abuse between the other girls and the popular girls, if you can look at that and go, that's a negative feedback loop and we don't want it. You just kind of look at all women as being like, you're all valid in whatever, you know, I love those TLC shows that are just kind of like weird couples or like love doesn't judge.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
like, the ones that are on like the Snapchat stories.
It's like the sugar baby and like her 70-year-old like boyfriend or like, like the extreme age gaps. Like when I do watch those, I go, these people seem genuinely happy in these relationships.
Back on the subject real quick. something that I find that helps, something, I think it was from whatever that show is on Netflix with the weed shop.
I haven't seen that one.
Okay, I'll figure out what it's called. But there's this really great quote from it, think globally, act locally,
Yeah.
where like you're not gonna change the whole world's point of view, but by calling yourself out and others out respectfully, in situations that you see, that's a change that you can make, and that's something that can be really effective in the long run.
Yeah, I like that.
Making a tweet about it isn't necessarily going to do something.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of like advocates for like all kind of change. That's usually that's how you kind of go about it. Yeah, just how you treat other women and men. One thing that we usually say this at like the top of the show.
Yeah.
In the middle, we said we don't hate men here.
Yeah.
We don't hate anyone. We
Hate the attitude.
we disagree with and we dislike men who take advantage of the patriarchal structure of what we have going on. When the guys who go send nudes, those are the guys where I have a lot of disrespect for them,
Very much disagree.
Because it's like, if they look at it from our perspective, if they don't know us, if they don't know that like maybe we're just on this app to meet someone and talk, and someone says like, show me naked pictures of your body, like I don't understand. I wouldn't see how that's like a rude thing to do. There's like the 50% chance that she'll just be like, yeah, sure, I'm down. That's definitely a valid thing that happens, and I've done, it's fine. I don't judge people, which is a lie. I try not to judge people.
Not to. There we go.
I try not to judge people who do that.
Do our best.
You can't be perfect about it. But yeah, again, like in your circles with your friends.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's just very not into dating at all. When I talk about my stuff, she's just very like, this is just why I don't really have relationships, or I don't really like, I'm just not a very sexual person or whatever. And that kind of makes me feel shitty. Isn't it? Like, oh, I'm doing something. Maybe the reason I'm so unhappy is because I'm like pursuing relationships. And it's like, no,
that's your path. That's your journey. That's your choice.
Yeah, no. And it's like, I think the reason that I get unhappy is because like, I'm sorry, hookup culture just, it really sucks.
It does.
In the long term, everyone go watch Too Hot to Handle. I'm just kidding. I have not watched it. I'm not going to. In the long run, having hookups consistently is not beneficial for your mental health, because the way that we're programmed biologically, sorry, I'm a social psych on you right now. We're programmed to have a strong bond with a person, whether it's two people, or three or four, whatever, it's your life.
Hey, Mormon.
You should have we yearn for a long, consistent connection with someone. We want love and we want acceptance. And if you're constantly getting love and acceptance from so many different people, it's like, no one gets to know who you are for you.
We're pack animals.
Yeah, exactly. It's one thing if you have a harem. The harem travels with you.
Yeah.
But if you're just going all over, not the same.
My Big Fat American Gypsy Wedding, favorite show. Where were we?
I don't know. We were somewhere. Yeah. We were talking about how we can break the cycle.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, sharing that message, empowering other women. Being traditionally feminine is fine. Being masculine is fine. Just examine your reasons for it. Like, are you doing it to fit in? Are you doing it because that's how you feel good about yourself, or that's how you identify? Basically, gender norms are lies. Your life is a lie, and take the red pill. So,
amen.
Amen.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. That was all the research I did.
Yeah, that was good ass research.
Oh yeah, man. I spent a good 30 minutes on that one.
And the thing is, like, stuff like this is really nice too, because Like, people aren't gonna listen if you yell things at them. Like, you have
Yeah.
to, like, even if you have zero respect for whoever you're disagreeing with, like, if you don't pretend to have respect, they're not gonna listen to you.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Mhm.
Like, I really enjoyed the anthropology class I took. Um,
Mhm.
and they talked so much about ethnocentrism, the idea that we're just kind of like, every person goes, well, the way I was raised,
Mm.
my culture is the correct one, and everyone
Oh,
do my thing is weird.
I see.
There's an article that we read um, called the Nasarima, and it was like about this tribe called the Nasarima, and it
Oh, yeah, that's American backwards, right?
yeah, it's American backwards, and it's like they describe what we do in the bathroom, but they just use really weird terms. So then
Oh.
we read it like they were like, and they have the women go and put their head inside an oven, and they're talking about how they blow dry their hair. Stuff like that. It's kind of like if you look at something from this
That's pretty
completely
funny.
different lens, you go, "That's fucking
Yeah. No, we talked about that in my mass communication process class.
weird."
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's just an idea to keep in mind too. It's different everywhere, but I think the things that are harmful are the ones where are the not like other girls trends where it's like let's beat
Yeah.
up women for being, or like the gamer gates and the comic skates where it's like
Guess what? You're not like anyone because you're yourself.
got them.
Fucking woke, am I right?
That's solved.
That woke, bro.
I love that.
Lit on knowledge, am I right? Nice. Well, thank you for such an enlightening discussion.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Ladies Lunch. This week, as if we record every week. Thank you for listening if you listened, and have a good one. So, goodbye.